Oh yeah, you could hear Chris Evans talk about it. I heard, and Mackie. I said to them both. I said, "We're gonna fight. I'm not pulling punches. The worst you'll do is take shots there, but I'm gonna hit you."
Yeah.
And I think that fight is one of the best fights in the Marvel universe because it's real.
Yeah.
Like I was hitting.
What is going down, everybody? Chattin Pony with Paddy The Baddy. Once again with yours truly. We're here in the studio, but we've got a very special guest today. But just before we get into that, obviously I want to let you know, it's not just on YouTube, people. We're also on Spotify, Apple Music. You know the score. Leave a comment, like it, give it 5 ratings, 5 stars, whatever you do. Let's get interacting. And then any new Baddy merch, I've told you before, it's on the Apex website. Get over there and get ordering. But today, I have one of Hollywood's finest. Introduce yourself, Frank. Let everyone know.
Frank Grillo, yeah, man. I'm the finest something. I don't know what that is, but I am. I'm here with you, man. I couldn't be more excited.
Well, yeah. To be honest, obviously everyone knows you for being a Hollywood movie star, but I want to ask you first about your fitness, because you're always fit, aren't you? I read something that says you'd always maintain 5% body fat.
I mean, I'm right now, because I just came back from Italy, I'm probably about 9, so I'm a bit of a fatty.
The pasta's good, isn't it?
But yeah, you know, I train with fighters still every day. I box every day. I do strength and conditioning with pros who are training for either high-level amateur fights or professional fights. I train with a guy named Justin Fortune, who is Manny Pacquiao's strength and conditioning coach, who I've trained with for many, many years. And I just live my life that way. I mean, you know, I'm in my 50s, in my late 50s now. And, I still feel, I still eat and kind of live the way I did when I was 30 years old. And I'll tell you, you're very young, but it pays dividends in the end. It really does. Like I see people who are, 40 years old and they're struggling. And, they're like, I want to be in shape like you when I'm your age. I go, bro, you're not in shape now. How are you going to get in shape like me when you're my age? So, yeah, man, it's a lifestyle that I love, and, I eat a lot of meat, and I that's pretty much all I eat. And that's it. I drink a lot of red wine.
The Jordan Peterson diet.
Yeah.
So is that?
Well, he just drinks water and eats.
Yeah. Is it? So is that like your general diet then? Like just mainly meat, and then like obviously bits of carbs and stuff.
I eat a lot of fish. I eat a lot of fish and a lot of great, sourced, grass-fed, organic beef. I eat a lot of nuts and avocados and eggs and not very many. I don't eat grains or the diet, the typical diet.
Yeah.
The paleo keto kind of caveman carnivore diet. And by the way, it works for me. Like I was in Italy and I ate some pasta. I ate a lot of pasta and I loved it. It felt great going in, but man, I was hurting. I'm still hurting. So it's just not good. It's not good for me. Yeah. I know you love to, I don't know how you do it, man. I mean, when you're fighting, you are completely shredded. And then you love to go out and fucking put it on.
I love me food, lad. I love me food more than anything. Like, I'm picking food over sex. Know what I mean? All day. Get me that me that chocolate.
No. Really?
I reckon I am, lad. Know what I mean? Definitely.
You're crazy.
I think I am.
Maybe
seriously.
you need to have sex with different people.
Lad, I'm with my fiance, lad. I've been with her for 11 years now. Know what I mean?
That's great.
But I read a brilliant
Yes,
I read a brilliant quote of yours that I wanted to ask you about. You said if you weren't boxing every day, you'd be dead or in jail.
Yeah.
Like,
without a doubt. Without a doubt. Whether it was I was a wrestler and then got into jiu-jitsu with Rickson Gracie before you were born, and always boxed, and without martial arts and without fighting and being in the gym environment, I would definitely be dead. I would have from where I came from, it would have been a different path for me, not a good path. And my son, who's now 25 years old, he's been boxing since he's 9 years old. He's a disciplined, stud. My other two guys have been in the gym a lot, and it's the same thing. It's like I keep them in that environment, that mentality. Listen, you're at the top, you're an elite fighter, and I'm sure coming where you're from, without that, you don't know where you would have been.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No, I do. I say that a lot, to be honest, Frank. I say, if I never walked into that gym when I was 15 years of age, I don't know where I'd be now. You know what I mean? I probably would have been getting up to no good, as you said, and I might have been behind bars myself.
Yeah. And listen, even in my acting career, which is in the last 10 or 15 years, leaned towards action, and I use everything that I've been doing my whole life, with martial arts and stuff. Now I incorporate it into movies and stuff, and it's a dream come true. And it's made me a better actor. Like being a disciplined martial artist and a gym rat has made me so disciplined when it comes to everything else I do.
Do you think like your experience doing bits of boxing and bits of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that has helped your acting career?
I do. I'm also a dude, and it's, as I don't walk around afraid of people. There's no, so then I don't have to act like an asshole. Like because I can be happy because I'm not afraid, and this is what I try to instill in my three sons is, I think people who are afraid are dangerous. And so not having that fear and having a confidence, just an all around confidence, the way you carry yourself absolutely has helped my career. Absolutely. So, I encourage everyone. I encourage everyone to train. Like when I hear people talk about whether they're depressed, and I've lost several people in the last 18 months to suicide, whether they're depressed or whether they're out of shape, whether they're sad, whether they're just not successful. My first thing I tell people, go to the gym, go train, go get your body moving, go get the blood flowing. I did a movie called Warrior. There's a great line in the movie that I say, and it's move or die. Move or die. And I believe that. I believe that's kind of my mantra in life is move or die.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be honest. A couple of people I know, it's been bad in my city over the past year, 18 months, people committing suicide. But I always say to people, go and train. Like even if you just punch a punch bag or you get on the mat and do some jiu-jitsu or a bit of wrestling, while you're on the mat or in the punch bag, nothing else in the world matters. Every problem you have is gone because you've got to worry about punching something or not getting choked or trying to take someone down. And people, when they actually get into training, they realise that.
Yeah, because what it does is, anything repetitive or anything what is like jiu-jitsu, a chess match, it's really one of the only times that your mind is focused on the now and it's in the moment. And that's what you need to be healthy. Most people have anxiety because they're looking into the future and they can't control that, and it creates anxiety. And many times people go into the catastrophic, they don't have enough money today, so they imagine, next year I'm going to lose my house, right? So they go to the catastrophic future. They create a shit ton of anxiety for no reason whatsoever because it hasn't happened yet. And what training does, I always say, and I say it to my kids, is it keeps you in the moment. And if you can stay in the moment, you're living your life, right? You're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about the future. And, people think, fighting is brutal and brutish and fighters. It's why I love fighters. It's why I did the show Fight World. I want to know what makes people get in a cage or on a mat or in the sand or wherever it is that they fight. What makes it? What's inside of us that makes us do that? And there's a through line, man. And it's why I love fighters. And fighters to me are the most intelligent people. They really are. They're the most intelligent, compassionate. They're the most nuanced and honestly, I think fighters are usually the most peaceful people that I know
Yeah.
outside of what they do. Now, to see you, when I see you get in that cage, you're an animal. You're a different person. And then I see you get interviewed, and I'm like, there he is. That's what you do,
Yeah.
right? And it's hard to figure it out. If a person isn't a fighter and doesn't understand, it's like that's what makes you so interesting. Is you are. I hear you talk about the struggles. I've heard you on interviews inside the cage talk about having lost somebody or the struggles of mental illness, and that's who you are. That's what makes you a beautiful person. And that's what I try to do. Same thing is have that balance.
Yeah. Like going back to what you said there before about like a person who's like, I compare that to like a wounded animal. No, do you say someone who's like angry and like they can't fight? I compare that to like a wounded animal. I always say to my friends, I was like, lad, go and do a bit of boxing, because 95% of people can't throw a punch. So if you're one of them 5%, you're confident anywhere you are. You don't have to be worried, he might do this, he might do that, because you know you can throw a punch. Like, and that's the difference between fighters and non-fighters. Non-fighters try and act tough and be like, I am a tough guy, where we know we can have a fight. So we don't care what people think or what people say.
Right. That's brother. I mean, you are a professional fighter. You're a professional athlete at the height of his career. You are at the top of the food chain, right? You're around tough guys. You're tough guys. You're all tough guys. I'm in Hollywood. I live in a place where everybody thinks they're a fucking tough guy, and nobody's been chin checked. Nobody's taken a fucking punch to the face. What I tell people is, go get hit in the fucking face. Go take a shot, so you understand when you mouth off. That's what it's going to fucking feel like. Because I'm in a place where you can't believe how many guys think they're badasses. They take a boxer size class, and then they tell people they're boxers. That's what Hollywood is. It's incredible. I mean, it's fucking incredible. I say, come to the gym, man. To the gym.
No, I think people think getting punched in the face is a lot worse than it is. I always say to people, like, I enjoy getting punched in the face and punching someone back in the face. Like, it's not. People think, me face is going to break. It's not. Your skull's very, very hard.
I don't want to get punched in the liver. I don't mind getting punched in the face.
That's it. I'd rather get punched in the face than in the body. I always say that all day. My skull's pretty hard. I've got soft tissue down there. I don't want to get it there.
I know, man. So it's an interesting duality, my life, because I can tell when somebody's never been in a fight. They got the big muscles, and they look, and I look at their hands, I look at the way they stand, and I go, wow, this guy's never thrown a punch, or he's never thrown a good punch.
Yeah,
he probably doesn't know where to stand. I could probably push him over. Or they, most people haven't grappled. I mean, they get on the ground and they panic. Now I wrestled from when I was a baby, 6 years old. I wrestled my whole life and got into jiu-jitsu in 1990 with Rickson Gracie before 1990, before UFC 1.
Before I was even born.
So one of my wrestlers, before you were born, you fuck. And I trained 6 hours a day with Rickson Gracie in his house in the Pacific Palisades. Nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was. And I was obsessed with it. And then the UFC came, and they asked Rickson to be in the UFC. And then they said, no, we're going to give you this guy. And it was Royce. So he would train at our academy, and that's how my jiu-jitsu started. And it was crazy that the UFC then started to become this thing, and jiu-jitsu kind of ruled the whole thing. Yeah. It was phenomenal. So great, man. And now I see how it's evolved, and it's crazy.
So obviously in 1990, how did you first hear about jiu-jitsu? Because like, obviously I heard about jiu-jitsu because of the UFC. So back then, the UFC wasn't even invented.
Right. Jiu-Jitsu, I never even knew what Jiu-Jitsu. My buddy Ted, who he wrestled in Oklahoma. He called me, goes, Grillo, man, you got to come down. There's this guy, Hickson Gracie, and his family brought over Jiu-Jitsu. I go, Jiu-Jitsu, like Japanese Jiu-Jitsu? They go, no. He goes, no, it's grappling. These guys are good wrestlers. And so we were wrestlers, and I said, I'm going to come check it out. And I went the first day, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I was rolling with these Brazilian dudes, this guy Limon, who I think is in Hawaii now. They're still around, these black belts and brown belts, barely spoke English, right off the boat from Brazil. I started rolling with them immediately. I was having lunch with them every day. I was going back at night. I was married at the time, and my ex-wife was like, where are you going?
She thought you were cheating on her?
I'm obsessed with this. Well, fortunately, we only trained with gi because nobody rolled without a gi back then. So fortunately, I came home with dirty gi every night. So I was like, see.
But I bet you come home with a few neck marks off gi chokes and stuff. And she was like, what's that?
Oh, my ear, brother, I was always a stickler about my ears. They're hard, but I don't have cauliflower ear. They're just calcified. Every night I was sticking needles in my ears and draining my ears every single night. It was painful, man. It was painful. But I was a struggling actor too. I couldn't have, monkey ears. And I was always, my eyes were fucked. It was crazy. I loved it. I was obsessed with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, as you say there about the cauliflower ears, I'm pretty lucky. I haven't got them. Don't have them.
You don't, huh?
I've got a little bit of calcified in the middle here, but that was off in an MMA fight, going for a heel hook and getting hammer fisted on my ear repeatedly. So that's off getting punched. Then I haven't got collies off grappling, but I've been there in the gym when some of the lads have had like 18 needles pulled out of blood, just pulled out of the ear.
I know. It's horrible. And then you got the guys who just wear it as a badge of honor, and I'm like, that's ugly. I can't do that. I'm too vain.
I've got a friend, well, I say a friend in the gym. He's my former teammate. He's now one of my coaches, Adam Ventry, and literally Ellis, another one of my coaches, now former teammate, who's now a coach. Years ago, he put the needle in his ear and it come out the other side. It fully come out the other side, and we just pulled it out and went, yeah, we'll wait for Paul to come in and do this, who's our head coach. Because of that, he's got a little bum hole in his ear now. So there's one little part of his ear what's like got a little hole in. It's like a little bum hole in his ear. I'm glad I haven't got collies.
Well, I mean, I've had friends who have tried to get them fixed, and because as you get older, when you're young, it's okay. As you get older, it's not a good look.
Yeah, but you're a brown belt now, so you've got real good. Know what I mean? You're only one belt off black.
Well, and even my brown belt, I haven't trained jiu-jitsu hard in a long, long time. Only because I'm always working and I watch jiu-jitsu now and how it's evolved. And one of my best friends is Higan Machado, and I'm great friends with his brother Jean-Jacques and Hosier, and I can train whenever I want at the highest level, but I'm usually working, and I can't afford to get too kind of fucked up. I watch these guys. I watch the purple and the brown belts go, and I'm like, wow, such an evolution of jiu-jitsu. There's the Gracies, when I was training for the 12 years I trained with Hickson, it was really traditional, Paddy. I mean, it was traditional. You did it one way and one way only, and you did it over and over again, and that's it. You did not go, you didn't go inventing anything, which I think is cool now. Like, I have so many friends they're constantly, evolving their jiu-jitsu. It's really wild.
Yeah, you're right there. Nowadays, the jiu-jitsu scene is it's on a whole new level. Like, personally, for me, I know the Gracie started everything, but now Gordon Ryan has just took everything to a new level. He's ridiculous.
I mean, there's not even a close second to this. I mean, he's beating up the most amazing Brazilians. Like, like they're nothing. This guy blows my mind. It's a freak. He's
He
a
is.
freak.
He's phenomenal, and he's only been training for about 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. That's what's crazy about it.
It's not, we follow each other on Instagram, and we talk now and then, and I'm just, I can't believe he's only 27 or 28 years old.
Yeah, he's about the same age as me, and he looks about 10 years older than me.
Yeah. I know. He does. You look like you're fucking 19.
Yeah, you have something different in your food over there, definitely. You know what I mean? You Americans, you're just built different to us. Built completely different.
No, listen, I'm Italian. My parents are from Italy. I'm an Italian. I'm a European.
Yeah.
I'm a little, brown. No, I'm 5'10". I'm tiny. He's like 6'3", and he's like 245, 50 pounds, and he's shredded. He's
Though.
a beast. Yeah.
But yeah, where we spoke about Jiu-Jitsu there. Obviously, you was doing Jiu-Jitsu when the UFC first started. So what's it like now looking at the current UFC compared to back then?
I can honestly say that watching what the UFC has turned into, I think Dana White is, he's controversial,
but he's the man.
I think he's a genius. He is the man. He is, for my money, people talk about Bill Gates and Elon Musk. I think you got to mention Dana White in that conversation, because what he has done in creating the UFC, UFC is ubiquitous with MMA, right? I mean, that's it. And the way he kept it going during COVID, and I know that the Fertitta brothers wanted to collapse it 10 times. They wanted to shut it down, and he kept that thing alive. This guy had a vision. He saw something that no one else saw, and what he maintains now, I'm amazed by Dana White. I just think, and when I was doing the show Kingdom, Dana loved it, and he came down to the set, and he did his podcast from the set of Kingdom, and we got to spend a little time together. And it's amazing that he only has 24 hours in a day, because what that guy gets accomplished is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So hats to Dana, and without that one guy, there is no. Imagine this: without Dana White, there's never any such thing as the UFC.
I don't know what I'd be doing right now.
Paddy, I don't know what you'd be doing.
I have no idea what I'd be doing right now, to be honest. Like, I love the comparison when people say Dana's like Vince McMahon, because Vince built the WWE up on his own back. Know what I mean? Dana's done the same with the UFC. He's built the whole organisation up on his own back.
Listen, he all by himself in his vision. I mean, he's got people around him to help him execute what he wants to execute. But, like a fighter, you could have the best team, the best coaches, the best striking coach, the best grappling coach. But without you, the fighter is the guy who's gonna make it or break it, right?
Yeah.
And that's Dana. Like, he's a fighter, and he had a lot of people around him to help him. But this thing still breeds today because that guy, And I love him. I love he's controversial. He's a thug. He's a bit of a gangster.
He tells it how it is. That's why I like him. He doesn't beat around the bush. He just gets straight to the point and says it how it is.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a brilliant guy. So
have you had?
I love his answer. You know what I love, Patty? I love when people complaining about the fighters don't get enough money and blah blah blah. And perhaps that's true. I'm not a fighter. I don't, that's not for me to say. It'd be great if everybody could make more money in the world. But I love what he says. He goes, really? I don't pay my fighters enough? Why don't you start a fucking fight league and then you go pay the fighters?
I've heard him say that one.
And, it's like, yeah, he's just a thug. He's like,
So obviously you've seen the UFC from the get-go. Do you have any favourite fighters over the years? I'm guessing you're going to say Royce immediately.
No, I love Royce for what he, Royce kind of beat the odds. He's he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the most talented, and he proved that jiu-jitsu was a superior martial art. He just did. And then everybody learned jiu-jitsu, and then everybody learned a style. MMA has become a style in itself. Do you know what I mean? But when it was true mixed martial art, you had jiu-jitsu against all of the other arts. Jiu-jitsu prevailed. He proved that what the Gracies had been saying was true. Like, doesn't matter how big or how strong you are, if you know jiu-jitsu, you're probably going to win. And he did for a while.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing. But I've had many favorites. One of my favorites, only because he was so strong and dominating, was Matt Hughes back in the day.
Yeah.
And I brought Matt Hughes onto my show Kingdom because on the show I had a fight. My character comes out of retirement, and I picked Matt. Matt came out, and we got to fight. I got to fight him and feel his strength, and we had a ball. We had such a good time. We became such good friends. But I love the old guys, man. I'm friends with Randy Couture, and I love Chuck. I love all the original guys. I think they and I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass, but I'm going to tell you, you're really smart because you understand that the fight game is also entertainment, and you've risen above many of the fighters, 95% of them, because you've become a personality. Much like the Conor McGregors, much like Randy Couture. These guys also understood it was you got to sell tickets. And you got to use your personality along with your skills. It's like a combination of the two. So that's why you've become so popular. You are. I love listening to you, man. I love watching you in the cage. You're out of your mind in the best of ways.
I'm just me, lad. Know what I mean?
So
I don't try and change myself for no one, Frank.
Smart. No, you're smart, man. You're smart. And listen, you want to also understand that there's life after fighting. Now, you got a ways to go, but you're like McGregor, like guys like this, and again, controversial, like him, hate him, doesn't have to be the greatest. He's not the best fighter in the world, but he people like want to watch him. They want to hear him. It's the same thing. You have the same thing going on. It's what made Mike Tyson so interesting. Mike Tyson could lose 5 out of 5 fights. I'm still going to watch him. I'm still going to watch him. I'm still going to listen to him. I'm still going to watch him. So that's why, actually, I've been a huge fan, and that's why when they said you were doing the podcast and would I be interested, I said I couldn't say yes fast enough, man. I love this guy. So
thank you very much, Frank. I love that. But what I am going to have to ask you is, you wrestled since you were 6. You're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and you box all the time. So how do you reckon you get on in the octagon?
Well, I think with the level of athlete that I'm seeing, it would be troublesome if I was in my prime. But I think back in the day, I used to roll around and go at it with a lot of guys weren't good strikers. I mean, they did not know how to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Nobody. And they were just relying on their martial arts. So it was a little different then. I think I could have done well. I think I could have done okay. But I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare get into a cage with anybody that I watch now. I watch the level of just pure athleticism is, to me, mind-boggling. I'm so impressed with all the fighters, even guys that are not elite. Are just so impressive to me. People don't understand what it takes to be a fighter, to get into. If you're in the UFC, if you have got a contract and Dana White has signed you into the UFC, you're a special fighter.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to be a champion, but you're a special fighter.
Yeah, I always say that to people, because people have said it to me before. Oh, you're only fighting bums, you're fighting cans, and I'm like, people in the UFC, it's like 0.01% of people on the planet, and we're the best at what we do. We're the most athletic. I don't care what anyone says about all the other sports. I think we're the most athletic out of them all. The training we have to do, what we put our body through, it's ridiculous.
and the mental capacity that you have got to have. You know, I used to train. I'm good friends with Greg Jackson, and I've been to his to New Mexico. I've trained there a bunch, and I used to be really. And he had at one time 28 champions in his gym. And at the end of their training session, they would do a circle of like trust. And it was all about mental. It was all about getting these guys' heads straight. And I would talk to Greg about it. And he would say, you know, the one thing that other sports, unlike MMA or any one-on-one fight sport, is you have no one else. You have got to have the mental capacity to want to run away and still stand there. And you know, to understand what that means, to understand what it means to be exhausted to the point where you don't believe you're going to pick your arms up anymore or you can't protect, and then you start fighting again. Like that goes against human nature. That isn't what we're meant to do. We're fight or flight, right? And so when we're tired, we're running. So to be a professional athlete in that cage, people need to understand the mental capacity it takes. And most people don't understand it.
That exact example you've just used, Frank, has happened to me. Years ago, I broke my hand and got surgery like 3 months before the fight. I shouldn't have fought, but I fought anyway. Went into the fight. I had to stand southpaw in the fight because my hand was that bad. So my right hand, and first round of the fight, I end up on his back. I have a fully cinched rear naked choking, but I had my right hand underneath what didn't have enough strength. So I squeezed for about 3 minutes and I couldn't put him asleep. At the end of the first round, I went and sat in the corner. This is a 5-round fight, by the way, Frank. I went and sat in the corner and went, I can't feel my arms. And I had to fight another 4 rounds. I ended up losing on decision, but I never got finished, know what I mean? I went another 4 rounds with no arms, basically. And I broke my hand again in the second round.
Yeah. By the way, that's not normal. That's like 99.99% of the male population has no idea what that is. They have no idea. You know, I watch guys in the gym who are just like hitting the bag and they think they're real and they get a little bit out of breath and I'll see them walk away from the bag. Right? I always notice this and I'm like, wow, imagine that. Imagine, and in a fight, now you have adrenaline, you have all kinds of stuff going on. Imagine if you let the first thing that becomes uncomfortable in your brain and your body move you away. You're dead. It's over. You're finished, right? So the thing about now that I'm tired, now I got to learn to fight like this, right? And I love to train that way too. I love to get myself exhausted and then get in the ring and then go and train. Because I want to push, still to this day, even in my 50s, I want to see how far I can go before I can just not go anymore. You know, I don't want to walk away from anything. So I love watching Mexicans. When I was in Mexico City with Nacho Burstein, I was in his gym, the great Nacho Burstein, and I watched these Mexicans fight. Paddy, I watched these guys box, these kids, they do not back up. When I went to Thailand and I was training with Borkao, one of the great Muay Thai fighters, these guys do not take a step back. It was like, it's amazing. And that's a real fighter's mentality to me. And I love to take that mentality and bring it into my business.
Yeah. Well, where I asked you there, would you fight in the UFC? How do you think you'd get on? Would you ever consider like a celebrity boxing match? I don't think anyone would fight you though, Frank, because you know the experience you've got.
I would, if a celebrity, if it was for the right call, you know, if it was to raise money for something specifically, I got to tell you, because the mental health thing is haunting me, because I lost 3 people in 18 months, 3 people so close to me. One is biologically my cousin, but we grew up as brothers, and he recently, he succumbed to suicide about 3 weeks ago now. And if I could find the right thing to do to raise a bunch of money for mental health awareness, I absolutely would do it. Because I'm in shape. I can box pretty well. So, yeah. Let's set it up,
Yeah.
Paddy.
I'll be the special guest referee, like in the WWE years ago, innit? Let's do it. We just need to get you an opponent now. But the way we were talking about your diet before as well, and you mentioned to me, as you know, I love me food. What's your go-to on your cheat day then?
It's nothing exotic. It's pizza, man. I love pizza, and in fact, I'm a partner. I own a pizza parlor. Yeah. So if you're ever in LA, you got free pizza for life, brother. It's called Village Pizza, and it's in Larchmont Village, which is just outside of Hollywood. And I just pizza is my favorite food every day, all day.
Well, I will be there. In 2023, you will see me in this pizza shop, and I'll eat about 4 pizzas just for you, Frank.
You have his. Hey, you're part of the family. You get to eat for nothing.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you. But obviously, we've spoke a lot about MMA and stuff like that. Let's get back onto your film career, because I'm a bit of a movie buff myself. I love films. I've always watched films. My dad got me watching films from when I was a proper young kid. But you've got a new film coming out, haven't you? The Lamborghini one.
Yeah, which is a departure for me because I don't kill anybody in the movie. Yeah, it's a good film. It tells the story of another. You talk about Dana White, another guy who was just driven to be the best and to create this car and this car company. Very successful dude, and it's about the sacrifices, as we all know, the sacrifices that are necessary to be made if you want to be great. Something's got to give. Like, you want to be a world champion fighter, or you want to be a high level actor. Something is going to give. You can't always be the ultimate husband and the ultimate father. You're going to have to sacrifice time with those people, and sometimes it's too much time. But did I lose you?
No, you're there, Frank. You're there. All good.
Oh, okay, I can't see you somehow.
I'm back.
There, I don't see you.
I can hear you though. I can see.
Nope,
I can see and hear you,
it's okay.
Frank.
You okay? So ultimately, it's the story of Lamborghini based on his son Tonino's book, and it was fun to do, and I'm really proud of it. And it's a big departure for me, and hopefully it's going to allow me to do a little bit more dramatic stuff, and I don't necessarily have to save the world or kill the world, but I'm excited about it. It's a good film.
Something I definitely need to ask you. What's it like having to put an accent on for a full film? Because I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard because I grew up in a household where my grandparents didn't speak English. My father spoke broken English. So, it came. I had a dialect coach right next to me the whole time, but it came back to me pretty easy because listen, I'm an Italian. I'm European.
Yeah.
I'm first generation American, so I identify more with my Italian. I mean, I'm an American, but as far as my culture, I identify more with my Italian heritage.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family fought for the United States in a war. So, yeah.
I always think of like The Sopranos and Goodfellas and stuff like that when I think of that. Know what I mean? Like, get the meatballs, all that.
Yeah. Bro, that's my life. And growing up in Italian New York family, everybody fucking yelled at each other. Like, it was like, if you wanted the salt, it's like, give me the fucking salt. Like, and then it's like, I love you. It's like, and so I grew up thinking that was okay. And then kind of like I started, like, I got married and then, I would talk to my wife like that and she'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, what? And I've had to learn how not to be so Italian. and calm myself. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like scouse, to be honest, because a lot of people think we're being aggressive when we're talking, when that's just the way we talk. You know what I mean? It just comes out that way.
Right. No, everybody thinks I'm aggressive and intense. I'm like, no, I'm just fucking Italian.
It is crazy. Like, you have got some work ethic, though. Like, all the training you do, as I say, trying to keep your body fat that low, and then all the films and stuff. Like, I understand, as you said before as well, you can't really be doing jiu-jitsu all the time around filming because you can easily get a knee to the eye and you can't do a scene the next day because you've got a big shiner.
Yep. Or I do mostly my own stunts, right? I do all my own fighting in movies and stuff. And if I hurt my hand or if I hurt my knee, I got a bad left knee. If I tweak my knee or I tweak my back, I can't work. I can't execute at the level that I want to execute on the film. So I gotta choose my training wisely. So that I can go make a living.
So you do all your own stunts as well, Frank? Yeah, that's brilliant. That
I have a stunt man. His name is Greg Fitzpatrick. We've known each other 30 years. He trains in the gym with me. He looks like me. So we kind of the stuff that where he needs to fall, like if it's a 30-foot drop, and he'll do that stuff. If it's crazy car driving he'll do that stuff. But when it comes to all the fighting and all the stuff that entails in creating the fights, him and I, we do it together. We figure out what the movement is, the dance, and then I do everything on screen myself.
Something I have got to ask you. Know when you've done that fight scene on Captain America in the lift? Someone defo got hit in the face by accident there, didn't he? That was too small of an area, that.
Oh yeah, you could hear Chris Evans talk about it. I've heard and Mackie. Oh yeah, I said to them both. I said we're gonna fight. I'm not pulling punches. So keep your hands up. The worst you'll do is take shots there, but I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah.
and I think that fight is one of the best fights in the Marvel universe because it's real. Like I was hitting Chris. Yeah, we were black and blue. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds like a thrill, So, like, what would you say is like your favorite film that you've been in? Oh,
my favorite film. There are different favorite films for different reasons, but I loved Warrior because it was ahead of its time. It told about MMA long before it was popular. Yeah. But I love doing The Gray with Liam Neeson. That was a great one. I loved Captain America. I recently did a movie called Boss Level with my buddy Joe Carnahan, who's a partner. And it was so much fun and so much action. And I just loved the story. And my son was in it. And I really, that's kind of become my favorite thing that I've done. I did so many stunts and so much fighting. And it was kind of the pinnacle of everything I had been working towards. And it was my movie. So, Boss Level was a great one. But, they all the good, like I've made some stinkers, man. Like, I'll be honest with you. I've taken some movies just for the big paycheck, and I knew they were going to be bad. And they were bad and probably hurt me a little bit. But you got to pay for, I got kids I got to take care of.
Yeah.
So there have been a couple of stinkers too, but Paddy, it's like you said, I do something that 99.95% of the population doesn't do. Like I become an actor making movies, and every time I'm on set, I'm like a fucking little kid. I'm like, wow, man, I can't believe doing this. I still see everything like through a child's eyes, which keeps it fun for me, man. I'm like, every time I'm on a movie set, I'm excited. I'm sure you're the same way. Every time you step in that cage, it's like, it's special. Yeah. It's fucking special, man.
It's an adrenaline rush like no other. No one else will understand. I always say, like, getting my hand raised in the cage, the only thing I can possibly compare to it, and I haven't had this feeling yet, is watching me fiance give birth, having children. That's like the only thing I could possibly compare to it. The euphoria, what you get.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, they're different. I have three kids, and the thing about being a father is, when the kid first comes out, you're it's not like you're the mother, you've been carrying it, like you see it, but it takes a minute to connect, right? It takes maybe sometimes a month or 2 months to really understand. It doesn't just come out and you're like, ah. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. It really doesn't, man. Because you're like, you're the fucking hunter and the gatherer. You got to protect the
Yeah.
den, and I got to see if this thing's gonna live. And it's like, it's a weird. You're overwhelmed with joy, but that connection, that immediate connection, for fathers many times takes a second. Whereas when your hand is raised and you've just beat the shit out of the guy, and you strap around your fucking waist. I mean that's kind of it, man. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you're on a high for a while, but as you say, it's the highest of highs and the lowest of
Yeah,
lows. 'Cause no one will ever understand. Like, I've
right.
been there when I've lost. As you say, I've struggled with my mental health before. When I've lost, I've been bad anxiety, depressed, embarrassed, feeling like I've let people down. Like, the sport we do, it really is the highest
Yeah,
of highs and the lowest of lows, and people don't see that. They just see the fight.
yeah. And they think that's it, and they base. And I get angry about this because I always have fight nights here, and I have a different crowd every time. And I listen to people say something negative, and I go, shut the fuck up. Do you understand what it takes? This is just a result of a lifetime, and specifically 12 weeks of cutting weight, of in the gym all day, all night. I mean, you have no idea what it takes just to get there. I mean, just to step into that thing. Forget about the fight. Just to get there, and that's why, I have such a deep rooted respect for fighters, male and female, in a way that I don't have for many other things, because I think to be a fighter is probably the most difficult as an occupation, most difficult thing you could do. I really, I don't see anything harder than that.
It is, I know what you mean. It is tough. Like, but I can compare that to your job, Frank, as you say. Like, you film for months and months. You have to put hard work into that, and people just see the finished article and think, oh, and like, that's probably pissed you off in the past, where movies have been panned and stuff, and you're
Oh,
just like, I put time and effort into
oh, they
that.
shit on you.
Yeah, they shit on you. Exactly.
Yep. They shit on you, and they sit behind the computer. And you're right. It's like, somebody had to write that script, and then 200 people together to make a movie, and all the stuff that it entails, and then not only do they pan the movie, they say really negative things about me, say. And I'm like, wow, man, this is a guy who's never done what I've done. They've never done that. Like, they've never been in front of a camera and put a movie together. And they sit there, and they get personal. They get personal sometimes. And you got to smile and wave, because if you let those fucking critics, who are hardly ever right, if you let them in, man, then you're defeated. It's
Yeah.
over. So I let it roll off my back. I never forget who says things about me personally. I never forget. And then when I see them the next time, I remind them in a really nice way what they said about me. And it's amazing how they just swallow their words, and they cower. Because as you said, Paddy, 99.95% of the population has never thrown a
Yeah,
punch.
exactly. I do the same as that with MMA journalists, though. I know what you mean there, Frank. Some of them will ask me a question, and I'll just blank them, because I know that they've slated me a couple of months back. But, they have to just get on with it.
Yep.
But we touched on Captain America
Yep.
before, but what's it like being in the Marvel universe, lad? That must be crazy, that.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, like playing Crossbones, which he's only in the movies a little bit, but I've done three movies now for Marvel, and it's a game changer. Even if you're a secondary character, it's a game changer, and it's a giant, huge family, man. And when you're part of the Marvel universe, it's a global phenomenon. Like people mostly come up to me. Nowadays it's for a lot of things, but the younger people, it's like, Marvel. It's all about Marvel. And again, there's a guy who runs Marvel. His name is Kevin Feige. And he's the genius behind it all. It's one guy who had a vision. Like, he was a comic book nerd when he was a kid, and he took over Marvel. And he made Marvel. When we did Captain America, A Winter Soldier, Marvel wasn't really a big deal at the time.
No, it wasn't, you're right.
They had just done Iron Man. Yeah, I have watched this guy build this empire. There's Marvel, and now there's everybody else. Like, Marvel rules Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, whatever Marvel does, it's successful. And then there's everybody else. And that's because of Kevin Feige. Again, a lot of smart people around him, but all the decisions this one guy made. And it's fascinating. And it's a long-winded answer, but it's amazing to be part of. It's amazing to be part of the Marvel universe as an actor. All it does is help you.
Yeah. Well, something I do want to mention to you is your series Fight World that you mentioned before. Like you said about going to Thailand and stuff like that. And I watched the Let Way episode, and I think them people who do Let Way are nuts. Cuckoo.
Brother, I mean, absolutely nuts. I've never seen guys like they're headbutting your chin. So they'll come in. They're not like straight on headbutts. So it's, they call it the art of the 9 limbs. Muay Thai is the art of the 8 limbs. This is the ninth. The 9th limb is your head, right? And they come down and they try to slice your jawline. I mean, by the way, they don't have gloves on.
It's just rope, isn't it?
So these are the most, it's rope.
The craziest thing about that for me is they let people get knocked out, isn't it? They have 2 minutes to get back up and sort themselves out, and they can fight on.
Yep. And they let kids do it. So they let these 15-year-old kids do it. And they have like hematomas, and there's no doctors, brother. There's no doctors there. It's like they don't even want ice because they think putting ice in is a sign of weakness.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. They're crazy.
They are crazy. You're not wrong. Is there a story that stands out from that series? What you've done? What you can tell us? Anything what sticks out in particular from any of the places that you went to?
There's a bunch of stories. I think really what the story that really changed my DNA as a human being was when I went to Israel.
Yeah.
And I had never been to Israel, and my experience with Jewish people is from New York. I have many Jewish friends and business associates, but they're American Jewish people. They're American Jews or New York Jewish people, and it's a different animal. And when I went to Israel and I realized this is a little piece of dirt that is surrounded by 23 or 25 hostile nations and how they live their life as they are warriors in life. There are warriors that are in a cage like yourself, and these people are warriors every single day. They're all in the army at the age of 18, but they are surrounded. They are surrounded by people who don't want them to exist. And when I was there, I was treated with such great dignity and respect, and no prejudice, and they were just beautiful, tough people. And it changed the way I understood what Israel and what these people are all about. I'm going to bring my kids there because everybody should make a trek and I know there's the politics of Palestine and Israel. I didn't get involved I don't try not to get involved in the politics of anything. Unless it's brutal, but this is something that it's not my business. I just thought Israel was the most amazing people. And that's why you travel, to learn about other cultures and to bring that home. And so it changes, it made me a better person.
Well, that Fight World, that's on Netflix now. So get over and give it a watch. It's Belter series. Yeah. It's on Netflix, isn't it? But we're on to that was amazing. Thanks, Frank. But we're on to, I have a segment at the end. I put questions out for people to say, ask Paddy segments, but obviously most of the questions are for you. So let's get right into it. First question from John Toscano. Question for Frank. What part of Calabria is his family from? And has he visited Naples? Also being from the Bronx, who's his favourite New York Yankee of all time?
Favorite New York Yankees, Joe DiMaggio. I was just in Naples because I was at the Rome Film Festival, so I took my eldest son to Naples. And my father and his family are from a small village in Calabria called Plati. And I've been there. I've been there as well. And I'm also an Italian citizen. So as I've gotten older, I probably will wind up living in Italy, at least part
Yeah,
time.
lovely. It is a fight world question as well. Great stuff. From Michael Nitti. On your Netflix series, Fight World, which part of the world, in your opinion, was the most immersed in martial arts culture?
I think Thailand is so steeped in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
It's just such part of their zeitgeist. Everybody, but when I was in Brazil, we didn't get to show that episode because there was a problem in Brazil and Netflix wouldn't let us show it. But also Jiu-Jitsu in Brazil, martial arts and Jiu-Jitsu and Capoeira is, again, so deep into the culture.
Yeah, well, I've never been to Brazil, so I couldn't comment on that, but I know exactly what you mean with Thailand. Like, it's just, the culture is just Muay Thai. You know what I mean? There's kids fighting Muay Thai from like 4, 5, 6 years of age. It's crazy.
All of them.
Next one.
Go to Brazil, though, Paddy.
I want to go to Brazil.
Go to Brazil.
Yeah, I want to go to Brazil, definitely. Like, one of my favourite movies of all time is City of God. Yeah. So I'd love to just have a little look through a favela.
Oh.
Brilliant movie.
Love it. Yeah, I trained up there. I trained up there with Jose Aldo and in his camp, Day, his coach. It was amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. Next question.
Yep.
Justin Carrero. Huge fan, Frank. First off, I just wanted to say I love the show you did called Kingdom. My question is, would Frank ever make a season 4? There's a good one.
Yeah, we talked about doing a season 4 or a movie for Netflix, and the problem is we're all just so scattered. But it is a possibility. It really is.
I hope to see that in the future. That'd be nice to see. Here's another Kingdom question. This one's, I've just looked at it and it's just made me laugh. Chris Morton asks, during the film of The Kingdom, did you ever want to just level that Jonas brother?
Nick is one of the sweetest, gentle, nice kids I've ever met in my life, and I kind of took him under my wing. It was like his first acting job. But a couple of times, me and the kid who played Ryan Wheeler, my buddy Matt, we almost went at it a few times.
That just happens in the gym.
And we were Joe Daddy Stevenson was the fight coordinator. I had Juan Archuleta there all the time. I don't know if you know who Juan is. He fights at Bellator. And I had a bunch of fighters in the gym. So there was an energy on the set all the time. People were kind of getting into scuffles a lot on Kingdom. It was real.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I always say that. Just think of the amount of testosterone in the gym. Know what I mean? Someone's always going to have a little back and forth. Or, what are you saying there? Know what I mean? It's just standard.
Yep. We had it. It was great. It made the show better.
There's 2 more questions here, and then I've got a personal question for you, Frank. From me, not a personal question, just a question off me. But I don't even know how to say this name.
Okay.
Chunky Chons. What was the worst injury during your career in filmmaking? I think that's a good question because I've heard of a lot of people who do their own stunts have had a lot of injuries.
So the worst injury I've ever had?
Yeah, like with filmmaking, though, not with like jiu-jitsu and boxing and stuff, with filmmaking.
With filming. The worst Probably the worst. And by the way, it's the job of my stunt man, my stunt double, and the whole stunt team to keep the actors
Yeah.
safe. So I have to be honest with you. It's a rarity when people get hurt. It really is rare because the stuntmen are so amazing, and women. And, everything is planned out. But the worst thing that ever happened to me was I was running down a set of stairs. It was doing The Purge. Remember, the movies The Purge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the banister, as my hand was going down the banister, my 2 fingers got caught. And it ripped my fingers out. And they both, you can see my fingers still. You see that finger? Yeah. I never got it fixed. You see my pinky? It sticks all the way out.
That's rough.
It's all broken. My hand was dangling. And so the tendons were, everything was a mess. And I didn't get it fixed because I'm an idiot. But for about 6 months, I couldn't move my hand. I couldn't bend my, So that's probably the worst thing that's ever happened.
I always say, like, fingers, toes are some of the worst things you can hurt. Oh. Like banging your toes, and like when your toe bends backwards or pops out of place, or one of your fingers, it's like the worst possible pain. And it's such a little niggly thing.
It's the worst. Yep. And then you wind up, look at my fingers. Like my hands are all been broken, right? That pinky's been, I never fix them. So, they never heal. It's hard to even clench my fists.
Next one is from Josh. How much did he practice using a samurai sword for his role in Boss Level?
Oh, I practiced a lot. We had a sword expert on set. And I did a lot of sword I love that stuff. I did a lot of sword training, and then I had the great Michelle Yeoh. She's a master martial artist and sword fighter. We put some time into that.
Yeah, that's
good
great.
question.
My coach would love that because my coach has all sorts of knives and swords and stuff. He's always loved it since he was a young kid. So my coach would love that, Paul.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. There's a few, like there's a samurai sword and like a big show sword in the gym. What's not sharp, but it's about that thick and know what I mean? And it's shaped.
Right.
Know what I mean? Paul loves all stuff like that.
Yeah, they say like boxing comes from fencing.
Yeah.
It evolved from fencing. A lot of the movements are very similar, the way you move your body and stuff. And I never really looked into it to see if it's true. But as I was learning swords, I really, having trained in boxing so much, really helped me quickly adapt with the swords.
It helped you get fluid faster. Just like being in the rhythm, throwing punches. Yeah.
Yep. Listen, it's all about rhythm, right? It's all about rhythm.
Well, last question, Frank, and this is from me, this one. This is my question. Do you have any advice for me when I get into Hollywood? Because I'm going to get into Hollywood.
You don't even know it. You're already in Hollywood. You are Hollywood. And I will give you a piece of advice. I'll give you a piece of advice. Maintain the exact thing that has propelled you to the top of your career, which is your personality. I want to watch Paddy all the time. I want to watch what you're going to say, what you're going to do. I listen to everything you say because you're so interesting. Maintain that guy. Don't let anybody change that. And I know that if I stay on the earth long enough, you and I are going to be doing a movie on the same stage. I guarantee.
Definitely. I can't wait for that, Frank. That's happening. We're putting that in now. That's happening by 2030. 100%. We're going to do that, a movie together. That's happening. But this has been a brilliant episode. I can't thank you enough, Frank, to be honest. This has been amazing. But obviously, tell everyone where to find yourself, like your social media, your upcoming film, stuff like that. Let everyone know where to find you.
Yeah, I'm only on Instagram, Frank Grillo 1. I love talking to fans and friends alike. And so come on and hopefully you'll watch Lamborghini. Comes out November 18th in select theaters and in streaming. So that's it. That's my plug.
That's my plug.
And if you're in LA, come to Village Pizza in Larchmont Village, in the Hancock Park area of Hollywood, and you tell them Frank sent you, and maybe you get a break.
I know I'll be back in LA. I will. I'll be back in LA in the new year, definitely. So I'm gonna. I'll be there 100%. I'll be there, and I'll be with me vlog team. We'll get down and we'll eat some pizzas. But as I say, once again, thank you very much for coming on, Frank. This has been brilliant. It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
There we go, people.
Thank you, man.
There's another episode in the books. You know the script by now. Like, comment, subscribe. It's on Apple Music. It's on Spotify. I've told you it all. Get on the Apex website for Baddy merch. That's it. That's another episode of Chattin Pony. See you after.